رمضان 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 يا حبيب رمضان.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. All praise due to Allah and His praise and blessings and peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions, and his followers until the Day of Judgment. Welcome to a new episode of your program, Ramadan, the month of change. There's no doubt that these days that we're living, and I don't mean necessarily just being the days of Ramadan, I mean the environment in general, there is a rise of anti-Islamic sentiment known as Islamophobia. In Islamophobia, phobia, it means unreasonable fear, which is very clear that there is so much fear of Islam and Muslims, and absolutely 99% of it, there is no really reason for it, the way people react to Islam or to Muslims. Like, for instance, I always surprised by the idea that in America people worry about Muslims putting Sharia law in place and forcing Sharia law upon people. And I always cite to my American friends who know Muslims, how can you think, or someone ever think, that less than 1% of the society will force a law, which is any law, it's based on basically elected officials. How are we going to have ever influence to put laws from our religion into the society, which is secular society, which separate between church and state, which is Muslims do not represent any power in it when it comes to this area. It's just unreasonable fear. You know, when all statistics shows in Europe and United States of America, all over the world, that Muslim community is not a violent community. And the violence act that took place in the last decade or so, with all what we hear in the media, if you compare numbers, you will find Muslims are way less than many other groups, terrorist groups that exist in the world. Also take in consideration that the one who suffer the most from all these terrorist attacks are not non-Muslim. Actually, Muslims are 90% of these attacks targeting Muslims, and the casualties are mainly Muslims. 50% of them children. And we as Muslims suffer from these extremist groups more than anyone else. So there is really no reason to have that much fear of Islam and Muslims. And sometimes I don't think it is just a phobia. It's bigotry. It is racism. It is hate, as simple as that. It doesn't even deserve to be given the word phobia. Because I understand somebody has a social phobia or basically phobia from certain animals or places and, height. I understand that. But, but the phobia from Islam, it is something became ridiculous. And unfortunately, with the rise of some of the political groups, especially who happen to be in the far right in Europe and the United States, it basically around them a group of people who are Islamophobes, and they have an agenda against Islam and Muslims. And yes, they're not majority, but they are on rise. And that's something of concern. And I would like to speak a little bit about how can we change this situation? How can we deal with it? First of all, I want to say that Islamophobia is not the only challenge that we have as Muslims. We should not only just focus on the rise of the extreme right wing, and we forget also about the rise of liberalism. And I mean by that the social liberalism, the extreme social leftist group, who also anti-religion in many shapes and forms. Maybe is not as vocal these days as the other groups, but also they are considered, in my opinion, a threat to religion in general, to people of faith in general, or to Muslims as well. But the extreme of them. I want to say also that it is wrong that we make that correlation or connection between a conservative person and their idea and socially conservative and being an Islamophobe. Many groups in the West who consider a conservative, basically Christian base, especially in America, a conservative Christian groups or churches, socially conservative, but they're not necessarily to be Islamophobes. And we should not mix the two together. It's like someone saying all Republicans, for example, in the United States are Islamophobes. That's also false. It's not true. And it's wrong to deal with this situation by this mentality. Or worse than that, everybody is non-Muslim is Islamophobes. Actually, this is even worse, and this mentality is not correct. And when we look at those who are Islamophobes or have phobia about Islam, I found them to be two groups. One, their phobia coming from ignorance, coming from misinformed, and that's the majority of them. And there is group, no, they are racist, they are bigots, they're just against anything other than themselves, other than the race, other than the religion, okay, who basically don't see the society to be a multicultural society, people who think that the surviving of their identity is based on suppressing and eliminating any other identity in the society. They don't believe in multicultural and the pluralism that we always know in the West. No, they are basically paralyzing the community or the society into two extreme groups. They are basically fighting one another. It's the same ideology ISIS have, the same ideology terrorists have, that they don't believe in multicultural society, they don't believe in pluralism, they don't believe in what they call it the gray area, the people in the middle who basically can get along with each other. They want the world to be split to black and white. There exist people like this in both sides. And I want to say also that Islamophobia exists, unfortunately, even among some Muslims. They have phobia from religion, from the religious Islam, from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, from someone who practiced the deen. So we should be careful when we use the word Islamophobia, because I have seen a video of someone who were so anti-Muslim, had bad words in his shirt about Islam. When he walked into the masjid, talked to the people, ended up Muslim, because he was motivated by fear. You know, his phobia coming from fear and ignorant, not from being just racist. So when we make that distinguish, we understand that, we will know how to deal with this issue in a better way. Let's have a quick break and come back, inshallah ta'ala. Looking forward to continue our discussion about this interesting topic.
Ramadan, 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 ya Habib, Ramadan. We welcome you, month we all adore. We pray for happiness.
The Quran, the book of Allah, the miraculous words of Allah, the light in the midst of all darknesses, has so many rights on us. And because of that, we initiated Quran Circle. In Quran Circle 1, we listened to the entire Quran. This was a great blessing.
وقرآنا فرقناه لتقرأه على الناس على مكث ونزلناه تنزيلا.
The Quran is both concise and comprehensive. It has all aspects of guidance to all mankind. And because of that, in Quran Circle 2, we selected verses in every juz with a specific topic. We listened to the recitation and we reflected upon the meaning of that specific topic.
الله نور السماوات والأرض مثل نوره كمشكاة فيها مصباح.
Each surah in the Quran, every chapter of the Quran has an objective. We looked into the objectives of the surahs that we chose and selected in Quran Circle 3.
لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين.
Brothers and sisters, join us this Ramadan in Quran Circle 3. Get ready, open your mushafs, and follow with the recitation, and wait for the reflection after we finish the recitation.
رمضان 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 يا حبيب رمضان.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to your program, Ramadan, the month of change. You know, one of the things that changed in our life these days is the rise of Islamophobia, and unfortunately, they rise politically, socially. Some of their ideas became kind of mainstream, and especially in the Western world. Also in some even non-Western world. As I said, Islamophobia can exist even among some Muslims, unfortunately. Is not related to a specific group of people. And I talked about certain points we should keep in mind, because this is something we need to deal with, and we need to make sure that we are dealing with it in the right, we have the right strategy of dealing with it as an individual and as a community, as a society. As a community in particular, it's very important for us to know how to deal with that. But before I move forward, I just want to mention a few points and really what's dangerous about the rise of Islamophobia. I think one of the most important point I would like to mention here, the rise of Islamophobia, the more there is pressure from the Islamophobes on us as Muslims and the Muslim community and societies, what happened? We became in a defense position. And the whole community, the whole society, even the Muslim world turned to be just in a defense position. And when you're in a defense position, you don't have time to build anything, to contribute anything. You always try to justify yourself. We always try to condemn. We always try, we're not this, we're not this, we're not that. So we don't have a time to say what we are. We only talk about what we're not are. And you know, every time you say, I'm not this, I'm not that, it doesn't help. It really, it doesn't make you look good. And that's the problem. When our community and our society turn to be just lawyers, or all what we do just suing those people, refuting these people allegations, and all our work become toward that direction. That means we're not going to be able to have any impact, real impact in the society or in the world. And we, ummah and a nation and community that love goodness for others, we want to see our society and our community, wherever we live, prosper, peaceful, growing, getting better. That we wish always best and good for the world. We are mercy to mankind. And if we stop thinking of building and just defending ourselves and destroying all the allegations and refuting all the allegations, we're not doing our mission as a good citizen and a good human being towards the world. Number two, the rise of Islamophobia, what it does, it basically toxins the society, make it so negative, make the air filled with hate, make the air filled with basically suspicious, that we are suspect each other's. This is not a healthy environment to raise your kids, to live. It makes us don't feel safe and secure about the future, about my neighbors, about the people around me. You find the non-Muslims, suspicious of the Muslims, and the Muslims think negative of the non-Muslim. Oh, they're going to turn against me. This is not a healthy place to live. That's not how we're going to grow. That's basically lose-lose situation. Also, this environment is the most healthy environment for extremism to grow on both sides. That's why we see people basically an open shooting against masjid, against Muslims, physical abuse, and people get hurt and killed. Why? Because the rise of Islamophobia. And in the same time, the rise of Islamophobia means there is a justification for Muslim extremists to say, look, these guys hate Islam, these guys fight Islam, this against Islam, they speak ill of our Prophet. And you know what? Let's get them back. They're killing us, so let's fight them back. But that's what it leads. It is a serious thing. You know, it's a serious threat to our civilization today in the world. The rise of any type of racism and bigotry. Also, I would like to say that rise Islamophobia, it means that more laws were introduced to make life more difficult for Muslims and make it more difficult for people to practice their religion, to practice their natural right, which is freedom. And part of their freedom is the freedom of religion, the freedom of practicing their religion. As well as the rise of Islamophobia means the rise, basically introducing more doubts about Islam, introducing things that confuses people. You know, many young people come to me and ask, you know, what's the deal with polygamy? What's the deal with slavery? What's the deal of jihad? What's the deal of this? Because Islamophobe, what they do, cut and paste, and they take things out of context, and they select certain verses, certain hadith, and they say this is what Islam is. The result is even some Muslims who are uneducated will start having doubt about their religion. So it is a serious business here and threat to some of our community members. It makes people don't want even to associate themselves with Islam. That's why we see, and religion in general, that's why in modern days, the most advancing or fastest growing religion is atheism, if I want to call it religion. Living in fear doesn't help. Constantly, I'm afraid of my Muslim neighbors. I'm constantly afraid of the society, of people coming and attack our masjid, attacking our community, attacking my kids, or my daughter on the street, or my wife in the highway. That doesn't help. To live in that fear doesn't make anybody grow. I don't want to be paranoid. I insist, I'm not putting my head in the sand, but I insist, I know that there is so much goodness in the society, way more than what comes in the TV. The amount of people come to support my masjid from other community are 100 times double the individuals who made a threat to my community. And across the board, alhamdulillah, there is so much goodness in the world. We need to focus on that. And basically making sure that Islamophobia will be looked at in the right frame, in the right size. Also, I want to say that this is the rise of Islamophobia have made us doubt so many of Islamic movements and the du'at and the what's so-called the Islamic awakening, as-sahwa. Make people have doubts about them. You know, people start maybe, you know, this group, Salafism, Wahhabism, Ikhwanism, whatever group or da'wah group or sect, start basically thinking of them in the most negative way. You became suspicious of them. And that's also dangerous. Yes, I'm not saying these groups are perfect, but they're not pure evil as well. They're not the reason, or anyway consider main reason or resources for the terrorism and the extremism that we see today. That concept of convert belt theory, that you start with this group and you end up this group, academically has been dismissed. And that's what the Islamophobes try to promote. No, you know what? A lot of people go to this group and they don't end up that way. People became extremists and terrorists for many different reasons. But the problem is when there's this constant message, make people have doubt about any Islamic organizations or Islamic movements in the world, that they basically, if they're not terrorists, they will lead to that. And that's absolutely false. So that's why this issue is a real issue we have to deal with and to be very careful about May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and give us the strength to counter this message and to be able and to protect our community and our deen and the sunnah of our Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And that will bring us to the end of this episode. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us inshallah a blessed days left in Ramadan, accept all of our deeds. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ramadan, Ramadan.